Even before a brick was laid, the Beau Sejour Leisure Centre in Guernsey was being described as the finest complex of its kind in Britain. Tailor-made to the needs of an island community, Beau Sejour has not been simply thrown up overnight. It all started coming together as long ago as 1966, when it became the dream of a group of island sportsmen. For years, Guernsey had heard the cry that there should be an indoor swimming pool, but in those days no one envisaged a complex, let alone the type of pool we have today at Beau Sejour. In fact, even after the idea of the centre began to germinate, there was growing controversy. People began asking, "Where are you going to put this building?" And many said, "Not by me, you don't." It might have been built at Foot's Lane, where an outdoor complex of playing fields has enjoyed several seasons of success, but eventually the parkland of Beau Sejour was earmarked. This meant getting the approval of the St. Peter Port parishioners, but once this was obtained, the Guernsey Sports Council, under the driving force of Bill Rebillard, put on the pressure for a state's yes to their pipe dream. On every other car window you could read the sticker, "Vote Pour for Beau Sejour," but enough pours still took a long time coming. After that group of sportsmen had initially suggested the centre back in 1966, the state's Adult Sporting Needs Investigation Committee was formed in 1968. 2 years later, the late Deputy Freddie Best presided over a new body, the State Sports Committee, and in November 1970, the Beau Sejour Development Working Party was formed, a committee which Deputy Tony Brand took over as chairman a year later. The big decision to go ahead was made by the states on April the 25th, 1974, when Deputy Robbie Burns put forward the proposals on behalf of what was now the State's Recreation Committee. The green light was at last flashing. The model became one of the most travelled and discussed pieces of mini-architecture in the island, but it also gave people the chance to see what was being offered. It also sparked off a controversy which was to continue throughout the period that Beau Sejour was being built. Could the island afford such a centre? That was the basis of many an argument. In the main, most people thought it was just what Guernsey needed. Gaydock, the Amateur Dramatic and Operatic Society, were right behind the theatre project. Bowlers liked the idea of an artificial indoor green. Swimmers had been crying out for an indoor pool, and sportsmen generally wanted better facilities. This was to be something Guernsey badly needed, a community centre with everything under one roof, plus an attraction for tourists, especially in wet weather. And the beauty of Beau Sejour was its nearness to St. Peter Port, at worst a 15-minute walk from the harbour or High Street. Although the Island Development Committee President, Conseiller Tom Osier, had made an 11th-hour bid to block the project, it was fairly clear from the air that the leisure centre was not going to take up a great deal of Beau Sejour, and at the same time it would be tucked into the slope overlooking the coastline between St. Peter Port and St. Sampson's. According to Conseiller Osier, had Beau Sejour been submitted by a private individual, the IDC would have thrown it out. But foundation work started within a month of the states giving the go-ahead. There were, however, early problems. Bad weather caused delays, and then much of the ordered steelwork was diverted to other jobs in the UK. Yet the concrete poured in, and the centre, now estimated to cost £2.5 million, was beginning to take shape. In October 1974, work had been going on for 5 months, and the completion date was set for March 1976. All the time, Beau Sejour had its critics, and Deputy J.A.C. Degari was already expressing doubts about the centre's viability. But the Recreation Committee never wavered from their path, with Deputy Burns stressing that the states were loaning money to build a valuable asset. At the end of the 26-year loan period, the states would have an asset worth millions, he said. The work continued, and every month Beau Sejour took a step nearer reality. Out of the mud, the future was being shaped, and immediately Mr. David Mullins was appointed Director of Recreation, interest from the UK began to generate. For here was a brand new conference centre, and British conference planners were quick to realise the assets that Guernsey could offer. so Beau Sejour was to become more than just an island playground. In July 1975, the bailiff Sir John Loveridge made his first official visit to the site. With him on the walkabout were Deputy Robbie Burns and Deputy Brann, as well as David Mullins and representatives of the contractors. Days later, the main structural work was completed, the swimming pool was coming together, and the bowls hall and auditorium were in hand. Today, this is what the centre looks like from the air. And a week before the official opening, organisations were invited to a preview of the facilities. The multi-purpose sports hall is one of the biggest of its kind in Britain, and the swimming pool, though 4 feet deep overall, quickly won the praise of a more than grateful island swimming club. Coupled with the main pool as a separate children's paddling area, as well as a sauna room, solarium and massage parlour. And to add that final touch of luxury, even the pool surrounds are carpeted in green. Badminton will also become a major sport at Beau Sejour, and again the sports hall proves its usefulness, for there is nothing to stop several sports taking place here at the same time. Archery, five-a-side football, table tennis and even cricket are just a few of the different attractions the casual visitor may enjoy watching from a special viewing balcony. The trampoline too has its place, and just yards away the squash courts are guaranteed to a full booking programme. But it's not all sport by any means. Apart from restaurants and bars, the bowls hall will become the island's largest banqueting and cabaret room, capable of catering for 800 diners. And in the theatre, the world of dance has its place, a theatre where 450 seats can be folded back in a flash to make a conference area. And so on Saturday morning, shortly before midday, it all began to happen. The 10-year dream was a reality, and the bailiff arrived at the centre to officially open it. He was met by Deputy and Mrs. Brann, and inside more than 1,000 guests were seated in the sports hall, waiting for the plaque unveiling. On the stroke of noon, Deputy Brann led the bailiff into the hall and onto the rostrum. For a second, another member of the Brann family stole the limelight as 4-year-old Carolyn presented flowers to Lady Loveridge and earned a kiss for her efforts. Then Deputy Brann made the introductory speech.
Mr. Bailiff, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the States of Guernsey, may I warmly welcome all our guests present today at the official opening of our leisure centre. And may I thank you, Mr. Bailiff, for honouring us with your presence to carry out this ceremony. Today brings us to the end of a very long, hard road, and, I have no doubt whatsoever, to the beginning of another. The end of a very long, hard road, for some 10 years ago, the germ was sown that there was an urgent need for indoor recreational facilities here in Guernsey. Intense work spanning those years has been carried out by successive States committees and their able officers to bring to fruition the planning of such a centre as the island was found to so badly need. The past 6 years have not only brought trials and tribulations on a personal basis, but also to the project itself. From the outset, it was decided to carry out the best possible public relations exercise if the project was to have any chance of being accepted by the public and the States. Many hours were spent on planning this exercise alone, and I am delighted to say we seem to have achieved a small element of success against bitter criticism over the years. A leisure centre at Beau Sejour can boast, if not the largest, one of the largest parish meetings ever held in the island, followed by 2 States meetings where debates on the subject lasted a total of some 16 hours. And in the past 4 years, Beau Sejour can claim 2 ex-presidents, but only one of his own choosing. and of course I refer to Robbie Burns, without whose qualities and tenacity we would not be here today. The building of this leisure centre has suffered many problems since the acceptance by the states, such as the British government taking all the steel for their oil rigs, so that urgent replanning had to take place, to the two wettest autumns in 200 years, and of course the hottest summer. We have lost 2 committee secretaries through ill health due to the extreme pressures brought upon them, which left Beau Sejour with only 1 member of staff who had been with us for longer than 18 months. Apart from a multitude of other setbacks, we have, as you are all aware, built our leisure centre throughout the most rampant inflationary period in history. We are today at the end of that road. But what of the future? By resolution of the states, we are to operate as a trading venture, and a viable one at that. So now we have set up that new states trading department in a field of business never before experienced by the states, a commercial business in a highly competitive field. And with the management we have, I have no doubt whatsoever in my mind that we will be commercially successful, if we are allowed to be so. For it is only with the full support and understanding of the general public and the states that we will have any chance of success. And besides the direct benefits of employment of some 50 to 60 people here, the indirect benefits to the island by the very existence of the centre will be considerable, but cannot be measured in monetary terms. A centre like this, with its wide appeal, is likely to make a large contribution to the social well-being of all sections and ages of the island community, to the keen club sportsman and woman, to the greater number of all ages who would enjoy indoor and outdoor sport on a non-club basis, to those who wanted a replacement for St George's Hall, to those who wanted to swim in warm water in summer or winter, to those who seek facilities from cultural activities, to those who want a good theatre, or for those who just want to sit in pleasant surroundings. And all these facilities, whether you are able or disabled, are here. In catering for a whole range of leisure facilities and providing entertainment for the whole family, Beau Sejour will contribute towards a decrease in delinquency and towards making the island more attractive for its youth. The centre will directly attract out-of-season weekends for sporting clubs, and the provision of conference facilities will attract out-of-season visitors. Beau Sejour is not only an investment in the social well-being of the island, but an investment for the island's prosperity, which will assist in generating the revenue necessary to make other community projects possible. Having, I feel, justified the existence of Beau Sejour, may I say to you and everyone to remember, whether we wanted this centre or not, we have it. Let's be proud of it and do our utmost to make a roaring success of what will become our island centre.
Deputy Brown went on to thank the contractors and the staff who had worked long hours for this opening day. He could well have included himself in that thanks, for few had worked harder than the President. Then MC Mr. Vernon Luff introduced the bailiff.
Pray silence for the bailiff of Guernsey, Sir John Loveridge, Knight Bachelor, Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire.
First of all, Mr. Brand, thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, we meet this morning on what, on any judgment, is a great and historic occasion in the life of our island, when, as we can see, this Beau Sejour Leisure Centre has been completed and is a reality and is ready to serve the community. We have here a superb centre which embodies a leisure complex, a conference centre, exhibition halls, a theatre and a swimming pool. The cost has been very substantial, but this has been inevitable if the centre is to meet all our present and reasonably anticipated future requirements. What is more, it is a fact of life that while building may be expensive, real property does not depreciate in value over the years. In the centre, we have a priceless asset, visible and available to us all, and its attractions speak for themselves. It has been most expertly planned and designed with the fullest appreciation of the needs of the community. It is one of the greatest amenities ever provided in this island for the benefit of islanders and visitors alike. My view is that in any community, a leisure centre is, in this day and age, a vital necessity. And we are indeed fortunate to have in this island such a splendid centre now available to us. It will provide for virtually all the activities to which we devote our leisure time. It has modern and adequate facilities for entertainment and social and cultural activities of every kind, and the finest amenities possible for sport and games of every description. Now, the responsibility for the construction of the centre has been that of the State's Recreation Committee. And we have every reason to be grateful to Deputy Brand, the President, and the members of the committee for their great efforts and the tremendous amount of time and trouble they have taken in bringing the project into being in accordance with their mandate from the States, and for their dedication, breadth of vision, and foresight, so characteristic, if I may say so, of our forefathers. I know how heavily committed Deputy Brand has been for so long over the leisure centre, and particularly so during the past weeks. He has worked tirelessly with the greatest enthusiasm and the utmost dedication on the construction and opening of the centre, and its finances, and its full use in the service of the island. The community is indeed greatly indebted to him. My wife and I are most grateful to Deputy Brand for showing us around the leisure centre last week. To say that we were greatly impressed would be much of an understatement. We left with a deep sense of pride in what has been achieved for our island, for our generation, and for succeeding generations. I'm sure that for their part, Deputy Brand and his colleagues would wish me to record the debt owed to Mr. W. Burns, who was People's Deputy, served as a member of the committee, and then as President before he ceased to be a People's Deputy last March. It was Mr. Burns who, when he was President of the committee, had the responsibility in the heat of the day of taking the project to the States, and when it was adopted and sanctioned by the States on the 24th of April 1974. I have heard at first hand glowing reports on the leisure centre from those living outside the island and whose opinions command respect. I am aware of my own knowledge that it compares most favourably with those elsewhere. I believe the leisure centre will make an immense contribution to the good and well-being of our community. It provides facilities which we in Guernsey really must have. It is a place where people of all ages can enjoy to the full their increasing leisure time and without regard to weather conditions. It is indeed a place for the whole family. It will enable us to have events in this island which hitherto it has not been possible to stage. As an instance, I would mention the fact that the 4th Commonwealth Table Tennis Championships will be held here in March next. Now, the attractions and value of the leisure centre to our tourist industry so plainly manifest themselves as not to merit special pleading. In particular, the conference centre meets a need which has long existed in Guernsey. It is the case that conferences will be held here in the future which could not possibly have been held in the past. I believe that organisations outside Guernsey will wish to take the opportunity they now have to hold their conferences in our island and in delightful surroundings and in accommodation and with facilities planned to meet all their requirements. The holding of conferences in Guernsey is plainly of the greatest benefit to the island. The true economic value of the centre to the island will not be represented wholly by its accounts, because quite clearly it will bring collaterally benefit outside the centre to Guernsey, which will not be reflected in the accounts. I myself have always been deeply conscious of our pressing need for a leisure centre. But I know that in the nature of things, for one reason or another, the leisure centre may not have had the full approbation of all. I'm sure, however, that now we have a leisure centre, we shall all be concerned to use it and for its use to the utmost advantage in the interests of us all and indeed of our island. I believe that for many it will be the heart of our community. I deem it a great privilege to have been invited to open this leisure centre, not only as bailiff and president of the States, but also as one to whom sport and games have meant so much. It now gives me very great pleasure to declare open this Beau Sejour Leisure Centre. It also gives me an earnest pleasure to unveil this plaque to mark this occasion.
The plaque, simple but meaningful, was unveiled and Beau Sejour was officially open. As the guests toasted the new centre with champagne, Gaddock were already preparing for an evening gala performance of Fiddler on the Roof. Conferences, sporting events from bowls to roller skating, live theatre and music, and a place to take friends and make friends, that's Beau Sejour. Even the harshest critics have changed their tune, but Beau Sejour is also a business venture and it must pay its way. Its success today means the happiness of a generation tomorrow. In the bailiff's own words, it's a place where people of all ages can enjoy to the full their increasing leisure time. It's a place for the whole family.